Imagine this. You're waking up, maybe the coffee's just starting to brew, it's a totally normal morning. You glance at your phone, maybe scrolling through headlines, and suddenly, bam, an alert flashes across the screen. It's loud, jarring. Or maybe your radio cuts out. The TV breaks into a special report. It's not a test. It's a real tsunami warning. That's the scenario we're diving into today. A really detailed hypothetical simulation. We're talking a massive 8.8 magnitude earthquake off Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula and the Pacific-wide tsunami threat that followed, all simulated for Thursday, July 31st, 2025. So our mission here is to peel back the layers, not just what happened in the simulation, but how these massive forces work, how the warning systems react, what we learned from potential disaster that thankfully didn't hit as hard as it could have. Think of this as your shortcut, really, to getting up to speed on tsunami dynamics and why being prepared is just so critical.
Yeah, exactly. And this deep dive, it's a fantastic way for you, the listener, to get that knowledge quickly, but also really thoroughly. We're aiming for those aha moments, connecting the dots between the quake, how a tsunami actually forms, and those warning protocols that save lives. It's about making these complex things understandable, not overwhelming. So you come away feeling informed, empowered, knowing what real preparedness looks like.
Okay, so let's unpack the main event first, the quake itself. We're talking early hours, Thursday, July 31st, 2025. Off the coast of Kamchatka, in Russia's far east. An 8.8 magnitude earthquake. I mean, that's huge, right?
Oh, absolutely huge. An 8.8 is well into the great earthquake category. It's one of the largest imaginable, really, capable of immense devastation near the source.
And Kamchatka, why there? What's special about that region, geologically speaking?
Right. Kamchatka sits squarely on the Pacific Ring of Fire. Specifically, it's part of the Kuril-Kamchatka subduction zone. Think of the Ring of Fire as this massive boundary where tectonic plates meet, and the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench is a particularly energetic section of it. Basically, you have the huge Pacific plate grinding and diving underneath the Okhotsk plate. It's being forced down or subducted.
Like a giant collision in slow motion?
Exactly. But the plates don't slide smoothly. They lock up, they stick. And over decades, centuries even, immense stress builds up along that fault line, like coiling a giant spring. Then eventually the stress overcomes the friction holding them. Bang! The plates slip suddenly, violently. And in a subduction zone like this, that slip often involves massive vertical movement. The seafloor itself can be thrust upwards or dropped downwards by several meters over a huge area.
Okay, so it's not just shaking. The actual ocean floor moves.
That's the key for tsunami generation. That sudden displacement of the seafloor shoves an enormous column of water upwards or downwards. It's that water displacement, not the shaking itself, that creates the initial tsunami wave.
Right, I see. And these waves, they're not like normal ocean waves caused by wind, are they? They move differently.
Completely different and astonishingly fast in deep water. We're talking speeds up to 500 miles per hour.
500 miles per hour. Seriously?
Roughly the cruising speed of a commercial jet. It's mind-boggling. Their speed depends on the ocean depth, faster in deeper water. And the energy they carry, the potential height when they reach shore, that's all determined by the quake's magnitude and how exactly that seafloor ruptured. An 8.8 generates a wave with tremendous energy.
So the earthquake happens. How quickly do the warning systems pick it up?
Almost instantly. Global networks of seismographs run by agencies like the USGS, the U.S. Geological Survey, detect the seismic waves within minutes. They can very quickly pinpoint the epicenter in this simulation just off Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky in Russia and calculate the magnitude, the depth, the type of faulting, all crucial data.
And back in Kamchatka itself, near the epicenter, what was the immediate situation there?
Well, the simulation included initial, unconfirmed reports filtering out of Russia, suggesting pretty significant damage. Structural failures in coastal towns right there on the peninsula. It paints a picture of immediate, localized devastation, which tragically is often the case right near a quake that large.
And that sets the stage for the wider threat across the Pacific.
Precisely. That immense energy release doesn't just shake the ground locally. It immediately triggers alerts across the Pacific tsunami warning system. The clock starts ticking for everyone else.
Okay, so the quake happens, the alerts go out. Let's talk about that global response. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, the PTWC in Hawaii, they're key here, right?
Absolutely central. The PTWC is the nerve center for the Pacific. As soon as that seismic data comes in, their systems start analyzing the tsunami potential. Within minutes, they're issuing initial bulletins. That's what kicks off the whole chain reaction of warnings and watches across the entire ocean basin. It's a race against time, but a very practiced one.
So let's track the timeline. Hawaii is relatively close compared to the U.S. mainland. What does this mean for the islands?
Right. For Hawaii, the timeline was much tighter. The simulation had the PTWC issuing a full tsunami warning for all of Hawaii around 5:30 a.m. local time.
A warning, not a watch. That's the highest level.
Correct. A warning means a dangerous tsunami is imminent or expected. Take immediate action, evacuate coastal zones. This came just a few hours after the earthquake hit near Kamchatka.
And how did people actually get that warning? Was it just on the news?
No, it was everywhere, designed to be unavoidable. Emergency alerts blasted on cell phones, a really loud, distinctive tone. Radio stations interrupted programming. TV screens flashed urgent messages. Local news outlets like Hawaii News Now, KHON2 News, they went into immediate live coverage, providing those critical tsunami warning today live updates, translating the science into what people needed to do right now. Their role is huge in these situations. And in Honolulu specifically, big population center, lots of tourists, Honolulu went under a full-scale warning. Authorities ordered immediate evacuations of all the known coastal and low-lying areas. They activated the pre-planned Honolulu Tsunami Evacuation Zone maps, showing people in places like Waikiki or near the airport exactly where the safe higher ground was. It's a massive logistical effort, moving potentially tens, hundreds of thousands of people safely and quickly.
And this wasn't just Oahu, right? The warning covered all the islands.
All islands. Consistent messaging is key. So, Oahu tsunami warning meant evacuations there. Same for the Maui tsunami warning, Kauai tsunami warning, the Big Island tsunami. Everyone across the state got the same alert level and the same instructions based on their location within defined evacuation zones.
That sounds incredibly organized. And what about the timing? How much warning did people actually have?
That's a crucial point. The simulation's initial projections put the tsunami arrival time for Hawaii between 10:00 a.m. and 11:30 a.m. local time. So that gap between the 5:30 a.m. warning and the projected arrival, that's several hours, a critical window.
Enough time to react without pure panic, hopefully.
Exactly. It allowed for a more coordinated response. Emergency services could manage traffic, people could gather essentials, move inland or uphill in a relatively orderly way. We saw the simulated governor, Josh Green, issuing clear statements urging calm compliance. That time buffer is absolutely indispensable.
Okay, so Hawaii's under a full warning. Meanwhile, the waves are still traveling across the Pacific towards the U.S. West Coast. What was the situation there?
Further away, more time. The National Weather Service, the NWS, which handles warnings for the U.S. mainland, issued a widespread tsunami watch for the West Coast, California, Oregon, Washington.
A watch, not a warning. That difference is important, you mentioned.
Critically important. And emergency agencies work hard to make sure the public understands the difference. So a watch means a tsunami is possible. Conditions are favorable based on the earthquake. The message is stay alert, monitor updates, be ready to act if it gets upgraded, no immediate mass evacuation order generally.
Okay.
A warning like Hawaii had means danger is imminent or expected. Evacuate coastal, low-lying areas now. That's the highest alert.
Got it. And then there's an advisory.
Right. A tsunami advisory is a lower level. It usually means strong currents or localized waves are expected, dangerous for people in or very near the water swimmers, boaters. But widespread destructive flooding isn't anticipated. So stay out of the water, away from beaches and harbors, but usually no large-scale evacuation needed.
That clarity seems essential.
It absolutely is. It prevents both overreaction and underreaction. People know what level of action corresponds to the alert level.
So for California, the entire coast was under this watch, from south to north.
The entire coastline, yep. San Diego up to Crescent City. So for hours, you had people asking, is California under a tsunami warning? And the official answer was, no, it's a watch. That applied to LA, San Francisco, San Diego, all the coastal towns. Local emergency managers were glued to their California tsunami maps, their tsunami trackers, watching the real-time data come in.
And they had even more time than Hawaii.
Significantly more time. The projected arrival for California was several hours after Hawaii. A much longer window to prepare, to monitor the situation as it unfolded further west, and to make decisions about potential evacuations if needed.
And similar situation in Oregon and Washington. Watch issued, preparations underway.
Yes, same process. Concerns about Oregon tsunami warning today or Washington tsunami warning today were high, but the official status was a watch. Communities like Seattle, especially along the Sound, towns all along the Oregon coast, they were on high alert. Reviewing plans, making sure communication systems were ready, just in case that watch needed to become a warning.
So the alerts are out, millions are waiting. The moment of truth arrives, the waves reach Hawaii first. What actually happened? Was it the catastrophe people feared?
Well, this is where the simulation delivered a key lesson. The impact was significantly less severe than the 8.8 magnitude might suggest. It wasn't the catastrophic event many braced for.
Why not? What happened to all that energy?
Several things. First, the vastness of the Pacific. As the tsunami travels across thousands of miles of deep ocean, its energy naturally spreads out, disperses. It's not like a focused beam. Second, and really critical for Hawaii, is the complex underwater landscape. The islands are essentially the tops of massive underwater mountains, surrounded by reefs and complex bathymetry.
Bathymetry meaning the shape of the ocean floor.
Exactly. Seamounts, ridges, reefs, they act like natural breakwaters. They refract the wave energy, scatter it, absorb some of it. It disrupts the wave's coherence. So instead of hitting the coast as one single massive wall, the energy arrived more dispersed, less focused. It highlights how local geography can dramatically change a tsunami's impact.
So what did it actually look like when the tsunami hit Hawaii in the simulation?
Not that towering wall of water from the movies. It was more like a series of strong, rapid surges.
Surges, like the tide coming in incredibly fast?
Sort of, but much more powerful and unpredictable. Water levels rose quickly in harbors and low-lying coastal zones, then receded, creating dangerous, swirling currents. Initial simulated reports from places like Honolulu and Waikiki put the wave heights, or surge heights, at around 3 to 5 feet.
3 to 5 feet. That doesn't sound huge, but I imagine it's still dangerous.
Oh, absolutely dangerous, especially those currents. That kind of surge can easily rip boats from moorings, damage docks, flood coastal roads, and ground floors of buildings right on the water. So there was damage reported in the simulation to small boats, piers, coastal infrastructure. But crucially, it wasn't the widespread inland inundation, the kind of destruction that washes entire neighborhoods away, which is what a full warning often implies might happen.
Okay. And similar reports from the other islands?
Yes, similar impacts reported on Maui, Kauai, the Big Island, localized flooding in harbors, strong currents, some infrastructure damage, but thankfully no catastrophic wipeout.
And then several hours later, the wave energy reaches the west coast. What was the impact there? Even less?
Even less severe, yes. By the time the energy crossed the entire Pacific, interacted with the continental shelf, it was significantly diminished. The tsunami watch for California and Oregon was actually canceled fairly quickly after the first waves arrived, with minimal impact.
Minimal impact, meaning?
Some communities, like San Diego and Crescent City, which has a history of tsunami vulnerability, reported noticeable strong currents in their harbors, maybe some minor flooding right at the water's edge. But again, no major structural damage. In places like San Francisco, protected somewhat by the bay, the effect was described as minimal.
So the threat level was reduced.
Exactly. The danger was downgraded from a watch, first to an advisory in some areas, and then canceled altogether not long after. A huge relief for the West Coast.
And when were the official all-clear messages given?
The PTWC canceled the warning for Hawaii around 12:30 p.m. Hawaii time, once they confirmed the dangerous surge period had passed. And the advisories or watches for the West Coast were lifted a few hours after that as wave heights diminished.
That must have led to a lot of questions afterwards, like, wait, was there even a tsunami?
For sure. People were asking, did the tsunami hit California? Well, yes, the waves arrived, but as minor surges. How big was it in Hawaii? 3 to 5 foot surges, strong currents. Was there a tsunami today? Yes, definitely, generated by a massive quake. But the impact was thankfully much less than the potential suggested by the earthquake size. And that difference, that's where the really valuable lessons are.
Right, so this whole simulated event, even though it wasn't the worst case scenario, it sounds like it was a really powerful test of the system. What are the big takeaways? Let's start with the technology and the agencies.
Well, the first takeaway has to be the success of the warning system itself. The rapid detection by USGS, the analysis and warnings from NOAA and the PTWC, it worked. It provided timely, actionable information. And that relies on some pretty amazing technology. You've got the global seismic network detecting the quake almost instantly.
Right.
Then you have the DART buoys, deep ocean assessment and reporting of tsunamis. These are incredible pieces of kit.
How do they work?
They sit out in the deep ocean. There's a sensor on the seafloor measuring water pressure. When a tsunami wave passes over, even if it's only inches high in deep water, the pressure changes. That sensor sends a signal up to a surface buoy, which beams the data via satellite back to the warning centers in real time.
So they actually confirm a tsunami is traveling across the ocean.
Exactly. They provide real-world measurements, confirming a tsunami has been generated and giving data on its size. This is invaluable for verifying the computer models and refining the forecasts for coastal arrival times and heights.
And the models themselves.
Highly sophisticated computer models. They take the earthquake data, the dartbury data, detailed maps of the ocean floor, the bathymetry we talked about, and simulate how the tsunami will travel and impact coastlines. They predict arrival times, potential wave heights, inundation areas. They're constantly being improved too.
And a lot of this tech came about after the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, didn't it?
Tragically, yes. That devastating event was a massive wake-up call. It spurred huge international investment in building and upgrading these warning systems, especially the dart buoy network. What we saw in this simulation is partly the result of lessons learned then.
So the tech worked. What about the human element? How did the public react in the simulation?
That's the other really interesting takeaway. The simulation showed a very high degree of public compliance, especially in Hawaii under the full warning. People evacuated when told to.
Why do you think that compliance was so high?
It's likely down to years of sustained public education. Things like clearly marked tsunami evacuation zone signs, community drills, school programs. People knew the threat was real and they knew what to do. Plus, the effective emergency alert systems getting the message out clearly and trusted local news providing constant updates. That clear communication, like we discussed with the watch versus warning distinction, helps manage expectations and prevents panic.
So people knew their local plan, knew what the different alerts meant.
It seems so in the simulation. That understanding meant they could act decisively but relatively calmly when the warning came. It shows that public education and clear communication are just as vital as the technology.
Okay, so tech worked, people listened. What's the final overarching lesson here?
The big picture lesson. The threat is real and permanent. The fact that a major quake anywhere around the Pacific Ring of Fire can send a dangerous tsunami towards Hawaii or the U.S. West Coast, that's just geography. That's plate tectonics. This simulated event might have had a lessened impact due to distance and bathymetry, but the next one might be different. It could originate closer. The energy could focus differently.
So no room for complacency.
Absolutely none. Whether the threat comes from Kamchatka, the Aleutians, South America like the Chile quake in 2010, or even closer potential sources like Cascadia, the potential is always there.
So for you, our listener, what does this really boil down to?
It boils down to vigilance and preparedness being non-negotiable if you live in or visit coastal areas.
Continuous education, maintaining and trusting the warning systems, practicing evacuation plans. These aren't optional extras. They're essential. Your personal readiness is part of that system working. So, wrapping up this deep dive, we've walked through a simulated dramatic day, July 31st, 2025, an 8.8 quake, a Pacific-wide tsunami alert. Ultimately, not the catastrophe it could have been, but a powerful simulated lesson in how these systems and our preparedness are tested.
And the test showed the system largely works. The rapid alerts from PTWC and NOAA, the orderly evacuations we saw simulated in places like Honolulu, it proves the value of decades of investment and planning. Even though the tsunami Hawaii today in the simulation was more surges than inundation, it was a stark reminder of the Ring of Fire's constant unpredictable power.
Absolutely. And information was key. The live trackers, the constant updates from local news, it kept the public informed and ready to act. The fact that the tsunami warning canceled message came without reports of major loss of life, even in this simulation, that's a huge testament to modern preparedness.
It really is. And this deep dive hopefully reinforces for you why understanding terms like tsunami watch versus warning matters, why knowing your local evacuation zone isn't just homework, it's vital. Because the insights from the simulated day just highlight that profound need for ongoing vigilance. The Pacific is vast, it's powerful, and the threat is always there. So the final thought is really a question for you. What steps might you take now to be truly ready?